Hello, sorry, and welcome to episode 19, part 2 of my Wurm Unlimited tutorial series. And of course I'm continuing on with animal husbandry. I spoke about grooming in the last episode. There's one last There's one last pro tip that I can give you with regards to grooming, and that is before you start to groom an animal, and to stop it wandering off, use your rope to lead it. So say I was going to groom this bull. Animals have a habit of walking around all the time, so if you start to groom it and it wanders off, the action will be cancelled. So a good habit to get into actually is activating your rope, right click the animal and left click lead, and then just groom the animal, and that way it won't wander off, and then you just need to right click at the end and stop leading. So there we are, that finishes off grooming. Okay, now in this episode, this part of episode 19, we're going to move on now to breeding, which is another important part of animal husbandry, because obviously we're getting lots of crops, but we have to keep fishing, and we don't want to have to keep fishing because our fishing pole keeps breaking. It's a lovely skill, is fishing, don't get me wrong, and there's so many wonderful different fish out there that you can catch, and secret areas that you can fish in that I mentioned previously, but you know, I might redo the fishing episode because it was ruined in episode 3. But so you're growing lots of crops, you don't want to keep having the fish, so you're going to need to have a good source of meat to make some really nice meals for when we get to cooking, which is another episode. I won't go there. Okay, so it saves you then going into the wilds to have to fight creatures, wild animals, to get the meat, because that's much more dangerous till I do the episode on combat training. So in order to keep you safe in your pen, we need to give you an unlimited source of food. So you've got your pumpkins and you've got your meat. Okay, so breeding is essential though to getting lots of animals. Like I'd love a massive pen, 100 tiles by 100 tiles over there. I'd love it just to get 50 animals over there and just let them all run loose in this massive pen. Now I know Rainstorm hates that because she always used to be the one that would do the grooming, so she'd have to run off all over the place, because I've made some big animal pens in the past, Rainstorm will tell you, and she had to run off after all the creatures, grooming them and breeding. So here we go, we're going to get to breeding now. Okay, first of all then, let's show you how you can breed animals. This is another very big subject, breeding. There are so many things that I can talk about and mention. So let's start by trying. Now, bear in mind, it's just like grooming when I failed. You know, like when I tried to groom the animals, they shied away. It's the same with breeding. I'm going to try to mate this bull with this mature fat brown cow. So let's begin. We activate our rope. When you want to breed two animals, you have to lead one animal obviously to the other animal so they are very close together, then you may try to breed them. If they're too far apart, it will not let you. So we right click the bull, we're going to lead him. In actual fact, here's a pro tip, and this is a tip which will save you a lot of frustration. We aren't going to lead the bull. Okay, we aren't going to lead him. We're going to lead this mature cow. One, because as you can see it's walking around much more frequently, but two, because it was right close to the fence, so it would have been difficult for me to get the bull close to the cow. So the bull, thankfully, is 2 tiles away from the fence, so he's in the middle, so it's easier for me to get the cow really close to him. You see that? Now the cow is right there with him. Now I'm leading the cow, so what I will do is right click on the ball and select breed. Now down here you'll see the message: the mature fat brown cow and the venerable fat bull get intimate. Because this is a decent game where decency does come first. And it's a rather nice way of putting it. A very delicate subject. Because I do hope we get younger viewers. You know, this is for everybody. This is for every age, for every race, for every sex, etc, etc, etc. Oh wow, there we go. Club Fantastic. The mature fat brown cow will probably give birth in a while. That is fantastic, because you can fail quite consistently. So our cow is now pregnant. Now let's lead the cow over here. Okay, we'll lead the cow to this tile. Let's now cover some very important things for when an animal is pregnant. First of all, if I double click on the cow or examine the cow, so I double left click, down here you can see it now gives us a description about the cow. So a brown docile cow it starts. Then it tells us she is extremely well nourished, so she's eaten plenty of food. That is very important. Do not try to breed animals if they are hungry or starving, because not only will it not be successful, there will then be much more chance of a miscarriage. And there could be then the chance the animal dies giving birth, and also you will not get a cute little baby animal. Okay, so very important tip for you there. Make sure your animals are just like that, well nourished. Basically, leave them eating your crops, or you know, or your grass. Give them a good food source. I've told you, I've shown you what types of foods you can give them and how you can layer up the foods. This is for what I've covered so far is just the pasture animals, animals that eat grass or crops. I'll need to mention next the meat eaters. So let's just finish this off though. Oh, it's so complex. There's just so many details I need to give you about each thing. So anyway, sorry. Wow. Let's refer to my notes. I won't be one moment. Forgive me for the pause. Okay, so yeah, when an animal is pregnant, you need to make sure it's well fed. You cannot breed that animal again because it's obviously already pregnant. When the animal has given birth, there is then a, let me see where I put it. Okay, first of all, when an animal is pregnant, there is different time periods for how long it will take to give birth. Down here, it says she will deliver in about 5 days. Okay, but it varies on the same type of creature and on different creatures. It varies between 5 to 11 weeks, regardless of species. So this says she will deliver in about 5 weeks. Okay, but I believe me and Rainstorm noticed with the little foal that's over there, that was about 5 days. So, oh, there's a dog. Now he'll be great for breeding. Dogs are fantastic. Oh, that's another. I mentioned in the last episode my favourite animals to start breeding with: bull, cow and rooster. I forgot my most favourite, dog. Get a dog as soon as you can. You have to tame him. That is another subject, and I will get to it. My apologies, but dog is another very, very important one. He is so going to be my pet soon. Okay, so carrying on though, I'm drifting. So 5 to 11 weeks. So when it says down there, she will deliver in about 5, the game Worm on their Wormpedia, on the beautiful, wonderful Wormpedia, will say 5 weeks, but we've noticed in Wurm Unlimited it's days. Okay, so just that little difference. So when you see 5, it's talking about days. Okay, something else important to mention to you. Let me just check my notes. I need to find it. There's a whole wall of text I'm trying to decipher out quickly. So I've mentioned females will not breed while pregnant. Once the female gives birth, she will not be in the mood to breed again for at least 24 hours real time. So when this cow has given birth to her calf, you will have to wait 24 hours before you can breed that creature that has just given birth again. Okay, so whether it was a cow, whether it was a sheep, whatever animal it is that you just bred, you will have, once they've given birth, you have to wait 24 hours real time, so 1 day, before you can breed them again. Okay, let me just check if there's anything else important to mention on a pregnant animal. Okay, something else to mention. The males, the male creatures that you're breeding with. Once you try to breed a male and a female creature of the species, okay, so in this case, in my example, the bull and the cow, if you fail, when you try to breed them, if you fail, we didn't see the message, did we? I couldn't show you it yet. Hopefully I'll be able to show you it. But if you fail, you'll get a message telling you that one of them was not in the mood. And so basically it's telling you they've not successfully bred. You have to then wait 45 minutes, okay, real time, before that bull will be interested in mating again with that cow. Okay, so 45 minutes if you fail. Remember that. Just do something else, and in 45 minutes go back and try and breed the bull again with the cow. Okay, and then you'll be hopefully successful in your next attempt. Let's see what else I need to mention. Yes, when you breed animals, okay, notice that they're all called, all the animals in the world all have default names depending on their age. So this old bull is called a venerable fat bull. I would be called a venerable gamester. Yeah. This one is called a mature fat brown cow. They all have generic names to start with. But here's some coolness. Let's stop leading my cow because I want her to have something to eat. When you create new animals, the ones you breed, they will get unique names. Like this is a young grey rage. How beautiful is that? Not only when you breed animals can they get unique colours, but because young grey rage's dad, or one of grey rage's parents, grey rage's parents are black and brown. When you breed an animal, one of the traits, one of the special things that they can get is the colour of their parents. So you can see that grey rage's parents, one black, one brown. Is it a he or a she? Let me just check. He, so it's a he. He got his parents' colour. And I do like black for the horses. That is a nice colour for them. Notice when I double click on the young grey rage, or I can right click and left click examine, it tells me down here the mother and the father. Now it starts by telling you he has a normal build. No, it doesn't tell. It starts here. It tells you the mother is aged fat horse, father is old fat horse. That is very important to know in your early days of breeding. It is very important to know. Why? Because you want to steer clear, if you can help it, of inbreeding. If you do inbreeding, there is more chance, more risk, higher risk of not only animals suffering disease more often, but of getting a bad trait. And you want to stay away from bad traits. We're not going to get to traits yet. That's for later in this episode part, or in the next part to this episode 19. So you're going to say later on, you'll forget in a few days time, Gamester, How do I know who the parents are? Because I don't want to inbreed my animals. In the early days, you'll notice in Wurmpedia it tells you don't really have a lot of choice because you don't have many animals, so you'll have to inbreed them. But as you develop your animals, remember this is only an early stage of animals. We are going to fine breed our animals. We will turn it into a fine ranch of where we have some top class animals with that are thoroughbreds. And by that I mean they will have excellent traits and they will have good breeding. So it's important to be able to know who the mother and father is so you don't inbreed. Okay, so we know it's telling us the mother is an aged fat horse. If I went up there, well, you can see aged fat horse. It's telling us the father is an old horse. The old horse, there you are. So we now can conclude that our little grey rage, his mother is the aged fat horse. We know that also he has got his mother's colour. Just like, I mean, in humans, our babies are more likely to get the mother's eyes or hair, aren't they? So, and we know his father is the old fat horse. It helps us with, one, when we want to choose the colours of our animals that we breed, and two, it helps us stop inbreeding. And I am going to get to inbreeding and a bit more of that as we go along. So there we are. There's some good bit of information for you because that's why you're here. You're not here to just hear me waffle. You hate my voice, my monotone voice probably, and that's okay. I perfectly understand that. You're here for the information. Right, okay, let's see. What now do I need to mention in this epic, huge, fantastic episode on animal husbandry? Let's see, where are we? Okay, something else to mention with breeding. With breeding, animals have to be a certain age before you can start to breed them. Notice here we have a young grey rage. You cannot breed an animal if it is young. Okay, it's too young to breed. There, put it another way for you. You have to start with adolescent. There are two stages to adolescent. There is a young stage and an old stage to adolescent. How can you tell the difference? The young stage will appear much smaller than the older stage. So this is an older stage, it's bigger. If there was a younger stage cow, it would have been fantastic to be able to show you that, but I can't because we've only just started breeding. So the other smaller stage would be another adolescent fat brown cow, but it would be much smaller than this adolescent fat brown cow. Oh, I hope that does make sense. I feel like a joke's coming on here somewhere, but I'm not going to drift. I can't drift. This is getting too deep for me to get right, so I can't afford to stray. Okay, so there we have it. With adolescent, that's the age that you can start breeding animals, but be aware that there is two stages to adolescent. There is a smaller, younger stage, which you will not be able to breed, and there is a bigger second stage to adolescent, which you can start to breed. Okay, I've got that across, I believe, adequately. Not perfectly, but adequately. So I'll move on. Let's see, what else do I need to mention? Okay, I have told you this, but just to quickly re-emphasize it, you're gonna, as you get lots of animals and you want to keep up your breeding, you want to know, like, you want to keep checking on them for whatever reason. Remember just to double click and it'll always update how long they're going to take before they give birth. Yeah, okay, moving on. I've mentioned about keeping pregnant animals well fed, but I didn't mention that they mustn't be low on fat either. When you double click an animal and get its description, you notice this is all saying for all our animals that they're well nourished. Well, do not try and breed an animal if it is hungry, starving or low on fat, because the animals can die then when giving birth. Okay, so just to re-clarify the low on fat, you don't want, just make sure, the golden rule, they're well fed. Fat, when it says they're fat or well nourished, you know they're good for breeding. Okay, let's give you some reasons for miscarriages. So when you breed, animals can miscarriage. It is indeed a horrible thing, even though this is just a game and these are just like pixels on your screen. It can be that, you know, like, because you've got barely any animals and you really want to build your animal stock up, and especially when you start getting serious into breeding. I mean, on Wurm Unlimited, this is a specialised skill for people. They make their they pay for their Wurm Online subscription through breeding, because they breed thoroughbreds and they sell them for good amounts of silver, which then pays for their Wurm Online subscription. So it does to play Wurm Online for them doesn't cost them a penny. In fact, they make thousands of silver through breeding, through specialising and breeding in Wurm Online, which might be a path in the future once you develop in this world that you want to go and try Wurm Online. That's good, as long as that's also a fantastic game. So let's give you some of the reasons of miscarriages. I have mentioned one. Okay, these are reasons which will kill the mother when they miscarriage. One reason, of course, which we've mentioned, is being hungry. Another reason is if they're off deed. And another reason is or on a deed ratio. But you know what? That's all another episode. It is nothing for you to worry about now. Okay, I'm getting this information. Obviously, some of this information is coming straight off of Wurmpedia, and it's talking about Wurm Online, where the rules are much stricter, much harsher than our lovely little Wurm Unlimited. Wurm Unlimited is much, much, much more nicer to us. So some of this which I say to you, it might apply to Wurm Unlimited, and then again it may very well not. So I've not even mentioned deeds to you. That is totally another episode. There's no reason for me to mention it, because there's no reason to panic here. Your animals aren't going to all start croaking tomorrow because they're not on a deed. That won't happen. You've seen our cute little foal. He's fine. So I'm just telling you because I'm being thorough. Okay, so that's the reasons for miscarriages. Okay, now let's move on. Now here's a very good one. If you breed a female with a special animal, sometimes when you're wandering off in the world, you'll see an animal called, it'll have the name description in it, will say greenish or champion. They're special creatures. So they're a special breed of a certain species of creature. So if you breed a female with a special animal like a greenish or a champion creature, there is a chance that the offspring will gain that special status. Now, someone made a comment, I can't remember their name, I wish I could, so I could have just given them a little bit of credit here. But they mentioned in their comment was that they would love to build a town and this and that and have animals on their farm. And I replied to them and said, well, how about having a town full of special creatures, unique creatures? Well, here's what we're talking about. In breeding, not only can you start to add traits to your creatures, get creatures with traits, you can also get special. You can like have a greenish, so they look all weird and wonderful. You will see if you go in Wurm Online, where it's like 10 years old and people have had time to develop farms full of all special and unique creatures, you'll see all different colours of weird and wonderful creatures. You can do the same in our beautiful Wurm Unlimited. You can start to create farms and ranches of all sorts of weird and wonderful creatures of the same species. Oh boy, does this game get weird and wonderful on you. It's beautiful. So there you are. That summarises that sentence that I just gave you. Moving on. Just a little addendum to it. And if both creatures are special, then there is more chance of it being carried over to the offspring. The same can be said for traits. A colour is a trait, by the way. So, I mentioned, I've not got to traits yet, okay, but the colours of the creatures is a trait. So, that horse being black is a trait. But I'm going to get to traits. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So, just to summarise that, if both the creatures you're breeding are special, there's a very good chance that the offspring will also be special. But it is not guaranteed. Fine, it doesn't matter, just keep breeding. You will get a special creature eventually. How beautiful. Okay, moving on. Right, getting a little more into the finer detail of breeding. And this applies to special and traits. 1/3, and this is for you out there who love statistics and percentages. This is just for you, my gift to you. 1/3 is determined by the mother. 1/3 is determined by the father, and 1/3 is random. So when you're breeding special creatures and breeding and trying to get traits, breeding creatures that have traits, that is the percentages of the likelihood that the offspring will get the traits or the specialness of the parents. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope it engages you to want to either comment and ask a question further on it, or to just engage you in this episode with interest. Okay, so there we go. That is the breeding part. Let's now move on to traits. Oh, please tell me that Yeah, I did. Okay, I thought I'd forgotten to set the alarm, and I'd been talking for 2 hours, and this was going to be a 10 gig video, and I'd have to spend the rest of the month uploading it to YouTube. But I have set the alarm. There's a couple of minutes left. What I will do is I'm going to conclude this episode here, because there's only 2 minutes left, and I will start the next part to animal husbandry. So the next part of episode 19, we will start talking about traits. I'm just trying to make it for the folks out there that too much information's overloading. I'll keep the next bit for the next part. So thank you for joining me wherever you are in the world. God bless you and have a fantastic day. Goodbye.